Western Sahara and decolonization of the Sahel state, Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso as an example. This is one of the areas that is extremely complicated, very old, and still in existence. And coincidentally, is one of the hidden spots that has drew both African and world attention because of reasons that we will come to understand with time. When we look at this state, we try to trace out the location where it is in Africa. But we see that it's around the Sahara Desert, which is the largest and the hottest desert in the world, stretches across North Africa, which means that it's a kind like a ring road that stretches across. And that is why it links the region locally like through a transitional belt just south of the Sahara is where you find that area where they call the Sahel region. So this stretch of this road now, it goes as far as linking Libya. It also links Egypt. It also goes right to Chad. So in this case now, you can understand why there is a lot of conflict within that region. Okay. What actually should have led to this misunderstanding or what we call unrest in this particular region of the Sahel that we have been very conscious about? Even though we look at certain local issues which we call some causes, such as the ethnic tensions and marginalization of the nomadic group like the Trey and the Fulanis, we knew very well that there have been like some kind of small skirmish within the local region there. Islamic militants as well. We're talking about the Arab Spring that raised up, where there was the effect in Egypt, there was an effect in Nigeria, and the most sensitive in Libya. And the reason why you see we are emphasizing on this area is because you will see how it is linked, especially the issue of Libya. Weak state institutions established in Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso. When the master of the colonial region of that place, who is also one of the chief imperialists, was living, they didn't create a real state that will reflect the connotation of a state, where it can address state issue, bring things in harmony, keep things in a real working environment. They left the area prematurely with particular reason, which we will come to see. Now, competition over resources such as water, grazing land. You know, most of those people in those days were herdsmen who were mostly with their cattle, and so some of them needed some of this area to actually go about things. Smuggling of arms, trafficking, especially through the vast, sporadic governed desert. So, you know, sometimes when the arms are passing, people will take advantage. Either they seize them, either they use them for something else, either they use them for loot. So that is how it stirs up what they call unrest and a lot of displacement. But as if it's not enough, we see now interference and proxies of conflicts, often under the guise of countering terrorism. When France, that was the chief colonizers within these three regions, was living, they came out with what they call the French Pact, which means that you were to sign a kind of contract with them that even though you are giving you colonization, I will still have control over you. They knew very well that even if they signed this pact, people can still at some point violate them. The best thing they did is to set up a kind of government that is weak, which means that it is easy if they want to organize a rebel group to come in, it will be easy for them now to overwrite that state, which is weak. And then again, they put in certain strategies in place whereby it is much more easier for them now to control from a distance, which means that the treasury of France, all of you were to deposit 65% of your income in France. And if you hit any problem, only 15% will be given to you just to manage state affairs, which means that in that case, you cannot even think about development. You are stagnant. Now, let's look about the influence of other key players within that region. The region believed to be extremely poor and underdeveloped, or let me say, unproductive. Now, this is what we call misinformation and disinformation. You create an atmosphere whereby you give the impression that that place is barren, nothing is there. In this way, you deviate people from focus. Nobody is interested in that area because they know it's not fertile. So, people just want to focus where something is productive. And so because they feel that that place is barren, they already knew after topography and findings that the place is not. But they needed certain raw materials. But let's create this impression that that place is barren so that even the inhabitants will not even think that they have a good soil. They not even think that they have a good material that can benefit their land. So they just rely on what they tell them. Now, misinformation and disinformation of the Western media is just what I've emphasized here. Standing armies by the French and the United States in this region. You know, there is this kind of allies which they have been created where we talk of cooperation. Just as I said from the beginning that in order for them to hold us under siege, they have to create what they call some kind of a standing army. So these armies are there giving the impression that they're fighting against insurgents or any rebel group that is coming to destabilize that government. But those standing armies are not there for that. They are there to protect their interests. They are there to spy, to see that anything that you are doing, you don't come out with any useful development. They are there to see that they can influence within the military. So everything, they have it in mind and they have put them in place. And that is why you see at some point, we will understand why there is a need for the French or American troops to leave certain land. That is the main idea in that case. Exploitation of natural resources by the imperialists, French and the United States. That is the target. Now, they continue unrest and exploitation. How? Creating a rebel groups. Sometimes when we were growing up, we hear about the Mujahideen, Al-Qaeda, all those kind of names we heard about them. And the impression they gave us is that these are people who just get up from somewhere and causing trouble. The question we are asking them, these people do not manufacture arms. These people are just normal group that we are. The good thing is that those sophisticated arms that they get, where do they get them from? So you come to realize that even though they give the name to these people and say, okay, these are the people that are giving havoc, the people who really arm them to go and bring this division among a stable nation are the very people who claim that they are fighting against this insurgent. And that's why their standing armies are there for long. Then you ask yourself, we are sophistication arms, all sorts of cumulative equipment. Why is it difficult for you to eradicate this group? Even at one point, they will weaken those groups. If you hear that the group has been completely destroyed, it is not. They just simply change the name and give another name. And they will come again in another different approach. So the standing armies are there, giving the impression as if they are fighting against them, but unfortunately, they are the people stirring the problems. So we look about ECOWAS and the Economic Community for West Africa. When we were growing, we heard about the name ECOWAS. It sounds so nice, it sounds so beautiful. And what is their duty? We know that they have a certain things that they fight against. For instance, we'll see how their objectives are there in the next slide. But this is one of the weapons that they use. Give the impression that they are there for something good. Give the impression that they are there for unity and for something precious. But at the end, you realize that it's the same kind of scheme in order to push their agenda ahead. Economic stagnation, promoting free trade movement. That's what ECOWAS claimed. Peace and security. That's what ECOWAS claimed. Political stability, that's what ECOWAS said. Development, that's what ECOWAS said. ECOWAS itself has a standing army. But sometimes you ask yourself, why is it that there is catalogs of conflict from left and right in Africa? And you, the ECOWAS, you say you are there to promote development, you are there to promote security, you are there to promote all sorts of beauty that can make a state move. Why is it that things are stagnant in your present? And you come and see that how they expose themselves in this case of the Sahel. Unrest by the Sahel states, military coup. So Mali now decided to say, no, we have had enough of this thing. You people have been giving us a lot of impression. You know, there is a say, you can fool all the people some of the time. You can fool some of the people all the time, but you cannot fool all the people all the time. So after taking a retrospection, the military armies now sat down and reflected and said, oh, these people are here claiming that they are of good help to us. But when we take a mirror and look at it rationally, we discover that they are far away from what they do. So it means they say one thing and they do the other. They do the other, but they say one thing. It's from there that military people stood up and said, no, I must take the destiny in my hands. If the man up there cannot do it, I'm the military man. Let me take over and see how I can bring in discipline in the country. That's what happened with the issue of Mali. The same thing, Burkina Faso, since they are neighbor, and later on Niger. So the new world order now seems to be changing. Total control of the Sahel state. Now, these young soldiers, Abdul Rahman, as well as Goita, as well as Traoré, all these three leaders, after having some kind of reflection, I can tell you that it was through intuition that was working with them and through that deep sense of nationalism that awakened them to take this move. It is not like they had any kind of secret meeting that they decided to say, okay, you will take over, later on I will take over, later on I will take over. It just comes like what they call a wind of change, which when that time comes, you don't know how it's happened. It is just like the mind, the activities of the mind where concepts are derived. So you don't know how it happens, but it do happens. So it's more like a metaphysical issue. So when it happened that Mali took over that move, then the next person took over, and then the other one took over. They said, okay, since we are from the same region and we share the same common values, the same problem, the same challenges, why can we now not forge ahead in a kind of cooperation where something happened to you is happening to me? If something good for you is good for me. And through this way now we can start from there building some certain alliance. And through there we can push forward. In this way it will influence the other to see things that they could not see. And it's easier for them now to cooperate. So in this case now they say, listen, there is not going to be any buffer state like created by the French that only them have the right. No other country has the right to enter. No, their country is free. If Finland wants to come and make business, they are free. If Netherlands want to come and make business, they are free. So nobody now is limited. Like in the days that only one person will limited, you need to pass through this person before coming to the country. You need to pass through this person in the country. He exploits something for 10 euros, come and sell you for 100 euros. No, that is all those things. It's from this background that made all these young soldiers say, no, we are going to change the destiny. And that's how they rose up to take their challenge. And then they also realized that the standing armies that they have kept here, we thought they were going to be for good. But they realized that these standing armies were like spies. These armies were the people who were giving information. These people were bringing intelligence on how to destabilize if they see that you are growing towards out of their control. All those things, they had studied them. So they had to make a new alliance. And this new alliance now was with new players who they feel that they can work collaboratively, where it will be like a matter of give and take, not just take without giving. And true development has to be visible and not something that is just more like verbal or what they call an impression. So in this case now, that's what made these people to take their challenge and say they will promote their state of development, fighting against rebel support, and then withdraw from the ECOWAS because the ECOWAS was just a toothless bulldog. If you know of history, the same thing which the League of Nations was, where Hitler described it as toothless bulldog. He's talking, but cannot bark because he didn't have a standing army. That's the same thing that the ECOWAS was created. It is of no use to the Africans. But it's so beautiful for common eyes, and people feel that it's something healthy, but it's just a toothless bulldog. So they said there's no need pretending into that union. Let them pull out. That's how they also pull out and form their own, that it will reflect the reality about things. It's just like what we have the Nordic countries who have created at least their own environment. Even though they collaborate with the EU, they still have their own environment where they can discuss common things that reflect within the Scandinavian way of thinking, their culture, their way of promoting development. So that is the same move they decided to take. Then when you go now, you see what they call the breakaway from the French. It's because they realize that the relationship since from the 60s is not producing any fruit. Instead, it's stagnant. It's reciprocative. It's not producing anything. And so they say, no, we are not going to continue with this gentleman. He has been here for a long time, but this gentleman is not proving anything good. Let's now consider having new currency. Now, because France is producing currency for all its colonies, and that is where he uses it to control them, hold them stagnant, and see how it can be. They said, no, we are going to take care for our own currency and think about our destiny. Common development. So their development now is common. For instance, if you threaten one country, you are threatening all. If not so, there was a time that ECOWAS was threatening them to intervene, that they don't have the right to withdraw. But they tell them, if you attack Mali, you make sure that you are going to attack Burkina Faso. Niger too is going to attack you. And even Guinea say he is ready to join. So this now has created some kind of atmosphere of fear and doubt. So it's making it even difficult for the powers that be to come in. Because if they come in and all these countries now jump into war, it's going to destabilize not only that Sahel region. The whole of Africa is going to split into a kind of atmosphere where it will unravel so many things. And you will lose control. So the situation will even be worse. That's why you see the situation is so tricky to handle. So tricky at the moment. Now, inspiration by the other states. Because of this move that the other state has taken, every other African countries now, especially the youths now, are asking themselves big question. What is happening? So it means that truly we can do it. Because people were always afraid. People didn't believe that they could carry out a step. People thought that maybe paying the price is something that they cannot do. But when they realized that things are happening this way, they saw that French troops are packing out from anywhere. They see that development is coming for, if we use an example like Burkina Faso, within 2 years there have been free education. And not only free education, students are being paid with some small stipend to foster their education. Infrastructures are being done every day. Small-scale industries and big-scale industries are being established. Roads are broadened and construction is in massive scale. So you can see the kind of revolution that is going. For instance, gold that was being bought for very cheap price, within the twinkle of an eye, that same gold that was bought, let's say for 10 euros, now it is sold out for about 300 and something euros. So you can see a mass difference. And now the border has been opened now for any players to come in. It's not going to be like friends say, this is my territory, you don't have the right to find. Territory based on what? Who gave you the mandate? So you see that they have been able to liberate themselves now. Any person now can go and do business with them. No, Finland doesn't need to go through some other person or where to go and buy. No, he has the right directly to go there and say, Traore, listen, I've come here to check. Is there something we can do business? Is there a means that we can find some resources that we can work or collaborate directly? And you are welcome. So that breach of that buffer state that was created has been completely eradicated. And that's why you see most of the youths are becoming so interested and are demonstrating all over the world. From Jamaica, from United States, from Ghana, from Tanzania, from Kenya, all over. And even here in Finland, we are planning to go on demonstration on the 20th. I have already taken the authorization from the police, me. It has been granted on the 20th. We are going to demonstrate to show our solidarity for Ibrahim Traoré, that we don't want anything to happen to him like what happened to Gaddafi. Because you see, the problem which is happening in that Sahel was as a result of the fact that Gaddafi was killed. Then now there was a loose opening where the rebels now can pass through, as I was telling from the beginning, the long stretch of the Sahara Desert. So you could now penetrate and then find your way. So you see the damage that they caused by killing Gaddafi. It's really creating more chaos, more problems. So I will be pleading that this demonstration that we are going to do on the 20th, I will really want to encourage any person who is free on that day to come and support us. We are going to meet at the Central Railway Station on the 20th at 11, between 11:30 12. We are meeting at the front of the Central Railway Station, 11:30 12. And from there, we are going to march through Manahemintie, passing through Stockman, and then going to the White Church, where we'll make speeches, and then from there, we'll give our support, and then media now has to take it and say, all right, another group of activists, another group of advocates, and some other black youth consciousness is also demonstrating this way. So I know very well that at least you have some questions for me, some reactions, or some other contribution. Sorry for taking much of your time. Thank you.